Okay, I'd like to call the October 28th Board of Selectmen's meeting to order at 6 p.m. We do have a need for non-public under RSA 9132, and it's A. I don't think I have
Employment.
Don't
believe
think
it's A.
I have all the numbers and letters there. Okay. We have one, we are going to do electric department first, and that's in the back of your book.
So if I could take a minute to just kick off with the electric department. Tonight you received in front of you, as Barry came in, a Gantt chart outlining he has a retirement taking place this coming year within his department, and Barry is also looking to retire in the next year or so. This chart kind of lays out a transitional period for that to take place, and Barry's budget reflects that transition, which he's proposing, and he can speak to it in more detail. So it probably makes sense for Barry to initiate that conversation before you see some of the jumps in the budget. Barry?
Yeah,
Okay.
so this timeline that is this on? There we go. This timeline that I've submitted is all going to be in the administrative portion of the budget. That's where the changes will transpire. Our intent is to bring up Jeremy Mitchell from the line worker ranks to put him in the position of deputy director. It's a nice fit. It works. It's a transition. It's bringing somebody from within who has an interest. Jeremy's been working with me for about a year now, sort of transitioning, learning the ropes and whatnot. He's very well qualified. I think those of you who have met him would agree. It would be an excellent transitional individual. So this timeline is reflected in the budget under the salaries. There are some overlaps, and as well, the other big thing that's happening in 2025 is our administrative professional. Ms. Cormier is retiring in July, so a couple big transitions there. We hope to bring somebody on a month or so, a couple months, whatever we can prior to her leaving, for somebody to work under her and learn everything that Judy does so magnificently. So those are the two big things that are reflected in that administrative budget.
Barry, based on where the fees are now, this all can be covered within the electric rates right now?
Yes, yeah. There's enough, let's, for lack of better words, cushion, so to speak, to handle these sort of out of the ordinary costs without any issues. Specifically because we don't have any capital outlays on the table for next year. So, yeah, shouldn't be an issue.
Any other board member have any questions for Barry?
So will your salary budget for 2026 reflect or be the same as 2025?
So it probably won't be my 2026 budget, Ryan, so that would be a good question for somebody beyond. I can see the need with the shuffling of some of the duties that are performed down there, that a deputy as a continued position would be a good idea as other people in the department transitioned to retirement. We're an aging group down there, so yeah. I could foresee, some of the duties as staking and some of our
And what do you have to backfill when he moves up to a deputy position?
He right now is the lead line worker position, so we'll be looking for linemen we'll probably look to bring up an apprentice or bring on another apprentice to backfill.
In March, right?
So that transition, we're hoping for April 1st is when we're hoping that that would be able to transpire.
Anybody else have any questions? Okay, we'll start with the personal administration budget. That's your health insurance, your life and disability insurance, dental, and workman's comp. And those increases we see in insurance are because of those change in staff. Any questions? Okay. We'll move on to technological services. Okay, hearing nothing. We'll move on to electric administration. This is the budget he was talking about, the increase in staff.
So this is where you see the big jump of 19.6%, which equates to $213,000.
Yep.
And that is mostly represented from this realignment of existing staff.
Okay. 100 series, 200 series, 300 series.
Question.
Yes?
Barry, on your consultant, is that Mayhew?
Part of that, and the reason you've seen that going down is, if you recall, last year, we did an assessment, a value assessment on
I wasn't here.
Okay, well, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
We did an appraisal for the entire department, which hadn't been done in a long time, to base our payment in lieu of taxes figure.
Yeah.
So that was representative of the $30,000 less you see this year versus last year. But as well, Mayhew's purchase power stuff would come out of this line item, correct?
So is Mayhew kind of like right now, kind of watching rate activity
He
across?
certainly is. You know, check him once in a while, and he has sort of targets, as you refer to, that would trigger either going out to bid earlier or later. We haven't hit those targets, so.
That activity is still ongoing and should be ongoing, right?
It certainly is, yeah. Yep, yep.
Good, thank you.
He has that leeway. And so we would commence to think about the 2027 purchase power agreement next year in 2025. So much of this money right here
Is
would be
aimed at
for that.
It's aimed at that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And
That's
then,
why you're going to see the legal, I'm sorry.
that's where
the
I was just
legal,
about ready to go.
Because much of that negotiation is
Lawyers,
done with lawyers, yeah.
bless their heart.
God bless them.
Yes.
Okay. Any others in the 300? Now, we do have a new allocation.
The administrative allocation one?
Yeah. Electric. It went down.
It went down because we are doing the property and liability insurance directly to the departments. Doesn't need to be an admin allocation.
Okay. So that, without that, is that about 28,000?
Yep,
So it really just stayed the same?
pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
So that 28,000 just goes right to your bottom line.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Great.
All right.
Thank you.
400 series?
But we will need to make a motion, but I thought we could do, to change the line items, but do it for all the admin allocations at one point, right?
Yeah, I
Okay.
would think that would be fine. We'll
okay.
do them at the, remind me, the end of
Yep,
today.
will do.
And we have on revisit water for all the other departments, and we don't have much spent here. Did we get an update of that, or is that something we have to do tomorrow?
Wednesday night, I was planning on it. I'm trying to see if any more bills get paid between
Okay.
now and Wednesday is when we process all the bills.
Okay.
I did run the reports, but I didn't make copies to distribute. I figured we'd do that Wednesday night.
Got it.
Okay.
And I'm doing it for all utilities, electric, water, sewer.
Okay. Yep. 400 series, building maintenance. It was 15 this year. It's 10. Can you kind of explain what you're looking at down there for building maintenance?
When you say 15, you mean we've spent 15 versus the 7 that was
Correct.
budgeted? Yeah, we
Yeah.
had a rough year. We had a water heater go that was up inside the ceiling area. Our water fountain died, bubbler that died. So those were the 2 big ticket items down there.
Is there something unusual, or is it just general maintenance?
It's
the
just stuff that has reached the 10 to 15-year-old threshold and is required replacement. It's not anything out of the ordinary.
Okay.
But you're hedging a little bit next year, so 7 budgeted, 15 spent, 10 for next year.
Yeah, I mean, you never really know, but I think if you
Stuff
take a
happens.
You're
decent
comfortable.
average, I'm comfortable with the 10. Yeah.
Okay.
Plus you got a $28,000.
500? 600? 700? 800? Can you explain 830?
So 830 programs is our payment in lieu of taxes number, which I mentioned we did have an appraisal done this year. And I think we've had DRA do it in the past, but that just hasn't been an option the last, I don't know how many years it's been. We used to just base it on the tax rate. So we had a formal appraisal done. We came in at a little over $16 million in value for the department. And using the equalization value according to our appraiser, our in-house appraiser, that should be applied to that 16 million, and thus that's where we get the value of that program that we contribute to the town of Wolfeboro.
So if you see at the bottom of page 12 is the calculation that Barry's referring to.
Yep.
We will need to change, just in case anyone hasn't seen it, and we will have to change that annually based on what our equalized value
Tax
is
rate,
and what
I
our
guess,
tax
yeah.
rate is.
Yeah, so those 2 items will
So,
vary a bit.
so in 2025, you're going to pay the town $139,150, which is $73,000 plus more than you have been,
That's correct.
correct?
You're welcome.
Thank you. I just wanted the public to hear that we were going to
Thank you
gain
for the great
some
job.
more revenue from that.
Yeah.
Like he said, DRA used to do it a long time ago. I don't know when, but he's had the steady rate ever since. So it looks like a big jump, but it hasn't moved in many years.
It's been a while, yeah. It was, I'm going to say we're approaching 15 years since we were able to actually have them do an appraisal for us, so.
Okay.
I think the prior appraisal was like 5 million, so it tells you how far it's tripled.
Well, everything has.
It's an excellent report, too, if anybody would like to look at it. We should probably post it.
We can put it on the webpage.
Yeah, I think it'd be a good idea. It's a really good,
Do you have it electronic?
yes, yeah.
I would like it
Yeah,
electronically.
we should, it's a good report. It was done well.
Right, any questions on the administration?
Nope.
Okay, we're going to go to electric distribution.
So electric distribution, this budget is down 15.4%, or $393,258.
So that's obviously quite a jump down. It's, I can't really take credit for it, but that's, debt service interest that came off the books is the big change, so.
That means we're
Question.
paying things off.
The things that are off, though, you will see the 2 things that were really overexpended this year, and a lot had to do with our storm situation in April, was our outside services account, which we've completely blown out of the water, and we're not all the way done yet either.
Yep.
But most of that was associated with that April storm, where we had, 5 outside crews for a week, and it was expensive.
And the storms also affected your overtime.
It certainly did, yes. Yeah, internally it did. So 3 things: outside services, overtime, and in operating supplies as well. And unfortunately, those weren't FEMA reimbursable. That wasn't declared. It was a very localized sort of situation with that wet snow, rain, and so we have good years, we have bad. That was a tough storm. That was expensive.
Okay, we have the 100 series, 200 series, 300 series, and he explained the outside services at 380.
It's your call.
400 series, 500 series, 600 series, safety equipment. We haven't spent a whole lot this year. I'm assuming you must have some things you're going to spend at the end of the year unless you're trying to deal with your bottom line.
You're saying we're,
680.
you're saying we haven't?
You've only
I
spent
have it $8,358.90.
So much of that is going to be reflective of bringing on a new apprentice next year and
Okay.
outfitting that individual.
But I have also seen you're buying some uniforms and stuff. for
Now,
people
our
now.
guys are entitled to
Yeah.
X number of dollars per their contract, which many of them wait and wait, but they will get spent because it's either use it or lose it, so.
I do think
It will be
last week,
spent.
all the fire extinguishers in town were tested as well, so that,
We'll see
Probably,
that line go up.
Yeah, it's not going to be a problem showing that it's way under, trust me, yeah.
700 series, 800 series, and the 900 series.
okay, so your next is electric generation. This is a 9.8% increase, or $661,177. I believe the bulk of that is purchase power, correct, Barry?
It is. And if you recall, our purchase power over the course of a 5-year period, although it's contractually bound, we sort of flatlined it, so we adjusted our rate accordingly. So being the later years, or I guess we're with 2 years left, it's not going to affect our rate, it's built in, but we knew it was going to be, we knew basically where it was going to be this year. We just took an average so we could maintain a constant rate for the 5-year duration, but it's up.
Question?
Yep.
Unrelated, how much power are you bringing into town? When I last checked in several years ago, it was in the mid to high 70s. You're now buying 80? Or is that your
Yeah.
license agreement to buy 80?
We're usually, it used to be 72,000 megawatt hours was our norm. That went to 75, then we've seen 77. So, yeah, there are.
So you're
years-
seeing growth in consumption of power?
We are seeing, yeah. Ours is very weather dependent, even more than growth, though, believe it or not. In the summers, we've had a hot summer this past summer, the August. So we had some big time usage go up. The
So
AC
if you go above 80, you have to renegotiate any prices?
No, we're not held to a threshold that would, no, we're 100% full use provider.
Okay.
Where do you think our peak day is going to fall? The one that kicks us? Is that
I
apt to
would
be in the
better-
summer?
I would have a better handle on it if I knew we could do something that could change that, but it's typically going to be July, August.
July and August
Yeah.
still.
It has been the last 2 years, so
Okay.
maybe we do something about that.
All right. 100 series,
Small modular.
200 series, 300 series, 400 series,
A question just on 300, Linda.
Yep.
So Mayhew is scanning the globe for purchase power conditions. Why, is that what that 2,000 is for, as a part of his or her remit, or not?
You're talking about the 311
Yeah,
line item?
yeah.
So this is not purchase power consulting. This has to do specifically with 22 Laner Street, the power plant property, and the groundwater management permits that we have down there and the managing of those, Paul.
So just so I understand, you're carrying the consultancy for purchase power in another.
That's an administration.
It's in the administrative side, not on the purchase power
so
side.
this,
Okay.
historically, this was sort of the power plant and electricity were in the same sort of realm, so, yeah.
And the outside services going 42 grand on a budget of 7, back to 7.
Okay, so interesting. That was related to the groundwater management, not specifically consultants on the electric side. We had a consultant that we've been using for years down there that decided they were no longer in that business, but didn't really tell us until our permit had not been filed from them. So we had an interesting relationship with them. Had to scramble to bring somebody else in. And there was some money spent there. We have received, for a while there, we were not getting direct payment from the state, from the oil fund.
Okay.
So we had to pay for that, and then we were getting reimbursed. So that 42 grand you see as an expenditure there does not represent all the reimbursements that we've seen.
Yeah, it wouldn't.
Unfortunately, the reimbursements don't catch up and shouldn't get refunded directly to the budget
So how much,
immediately. So
how much is that, of that is going to be refunded?
of the 42 you see, it's not going to be all of it. There were some things such as having somebody else do the groundwater management
Yeah.
permit that we are going to have to eat, and we did.
Okay.
I'm going to say probably 75% of that was refundable.
30,000.
Yeah, there's probably still going to be 10 to 12 that we got kind of a real,
It was a weird situation.
I don't want to mention names, but it was really, we really got stiffed on that deal there where they,
The company walked away, we engaged with another company. That other company all of a sudden said, nope, we're not going to do this for the state contract price. So we had to scurry. Meanwhile, Barry's got an expired permit that he had to get renewed. We got that
Yeah.
renewed, and now we have a company on board that actually does this for the state rates.
correct. So I don't foresee going forward, we have a contract with them that says they're going to accept the state rate for all the items they need to do, testing, permitting, and the whole deal. But in essence, we had 3 different consultants last year because of this. I don't know what, it was very strange for somebody to do that to us, but
So
anyways.
will the 7,000 be reimbursed? Is that from that state fund, or is that the
So-
town's cost?
So the 7,000 that you see in outside services, is that what you're,
Yep, same
okay,
line.
so that's even a different number. That's the consultants is where that number is coming from prior in that one. This is for the oil in their transformers at our substations. We do all the testing in those. So that's what that number represents. But that number for this year, that included some of those overages. They probably should have come out of consultants, to be quite honest with you, but they end up going out of the outside services account.
So what you're telling me is that there shouldn't be 0 in consultant, that some of that 42,000 should be up in the consultant line? Because you have nothing in consultant, but then you have in the 2024, you have 2,000. You spent nothing in 2024, and you're asking for 2,000. So this 2,000,
So the 2,000 you see in the consultants, there are times with such as There's always a few items that won't be covered by the state reimbursable fund. And a lot of times that includes just hauling off, we have barrels of absorbent socks down there. That's not every year, that's not always, but when you have to remove that barrel there, I always throw a couple thousand in it to cover us for those type of things. Sometimes one of those well covers gets plowed away
Okay.
in the winter and we need to replace that wellhead cover. So it's for things like that that aren't necessarily reimbursable from the state, but I probably completely confused you because now
No, I just thought you said part of the 42,000 could have been, or should have been up in consultant.
it
And
should
so
have
when
been.
if I was I look at zero, and you're really telling me that we have spent some for consultants in 2024.
Yeah.
And so it just would make sense to put some funds up there if we've spent it. So it doesn't look as if we ask for it all the time and we never spend
I
it.
understand, yeah, that, you are correct. So I think that was a communication breakdown, just the fact that we had these costs that we had to cover.
Mm-hmm.
It should have actually been, the PO should have been hit our consultants to be consistent versus outside services, but
I'm just looking at it as the zeros, and if, before you go to the budget committee, I would like to have some allocated up to concern.
42K
Yeah,
normally is going to get.
so if that can be split between those two, if that 42 some should be up in the consultant, just
Now
kind of,
I'm looking at the same thing you are.
Yeah.
So I understand what you're saying. And to be quite honest with you, before probably the end of November, you're going to see monies come out of that, right? It's not going to be zero spent out of that.
okay. I just think that will trigger the budget committee, that's all I'm saying.
I can shuffle it.
I'm just saying it'll trigger.
Yep, I
Yeah.
put it as a
Yeah,
request.
okay.
Yeah,
All right, no
we
problem.
can certainly adjust that to the appropriate line.
Okay, anybody else? 300, 400? 500? Nope, we have no 500, 600. And we don't have any 800. Any other comments, concerns on the electric budget? And I
Is
believe-
it going to be easier as our consumption grows? Will it be easier or more difficult to negotiate contracts going forward?
I don't see it changing a lot. We're sort of in that, we're not going to jump we're not going to double in megawatt hours. I mean, we're going to be a couple percentage points. And it's not going to put us in a category that will either make it better or worse.
Okay.
For a number of years, Brian, for a number of years. I mean,
We don't have a material effect on the grid.
no, we're not,
Kind of
yeah,
extension
we're like
cord.
such a small, minute
Yeah, we're like an extension cord
portion
off the
of-
grid. Okay.
that we would have to grow tenfold to even probably see any major.
And Brian, I was fortunate enough to participate in those negotiations with Barry Mayhew and the attorney. And this is basically all this attorney does is purchase power agreements and working for power companies. It was actually an incredibly smooth process. It was dumbfounding how smooth it came together, and they landed the timing amazingly well for us.
How long are they going to be doing what they're doing before they decide to retire?
Forever.
I can't predict it. The company we deal with is very stable.
Okay.
The individuals within that company will come and go,
Yep.
but it's a very established, PLM, we are sort of their niche market. They handle probably 90% of the municipal power supply within the Northeast Public Power Association.
Right.
We're sort of their bread and butter, so there'll be somebody there to.
But the good news is on the other side, so you're bringing in somewhere between 75 and 80 million watt hours. But so you have headroom in there. So if we were to, as a town, get serious, I shouldn't say serious, get aggressive about solarizing the town, you're not going to get a phone call from those people saying, you're not buying enough power, I'm raising your per unit rate. So you've got headroom in there, right?
We actually invited Constellation up this past spring with, we met with the Energy Committee. I think, Brian, you were probably sat on it, and very well received. Again, we're like, they like us, they know what we're going to use, they're like bidding on us, but they're like, we don't really care. I mean, as far as, at this point, if we add a megawatt, it's, I was actually surprised how little they really would be concerned at this point in our contract, so that if we did that. Now, when we originally signed it, they said, yeah, we don't want to see a megawatt of solar put in until year 3.
Yeah.
But they're comfortable. I'm not saying what will happen after 27, but
All set? Okay, and you don't have any capital outlay, there's nothing in
I
there.
don't this year,
You
no.
have just
no,
two
just came in
CIP
as-
items.
Correct.
Okay. All right, that takes care of us.
Thank you.
All righty.
Thank you,
Have a
Barry.
good evening.
So you do have a list of revisits in front of you. We have, I believe, most of the department heads who you are revisiting here with you tonight. I'm not sure how you would like to tackle these.
Well, I guess my thing at board, I would start at the top and work down the list. And so the first one is welfare, and I think we got a sheet on the table from Amy, and this is the end of October. We were concerned about direct assistance rent. So I've got to find out what she asked for. She was in front of agencies.
Yeah, in front of agencies.
Yeah. So she had asked for 62,000. She has spent to date 35,572. In the budget for 2024, budget was 59. Yet in 2023, she spent 83. In 2020, that's 83,000. In 2022, it was 55,000. So she's looking at 62. She's used not quite half.
So year-to-date, she's used 35, if you assume, she used 7 in October, so if you assume November and December, she uses another 14. If she was running at that average, she'd be close to 50,000, so 12,000 lower than her ask. But this is one she could get slammed in December.
I would think heating requests would come up a little bit more in November and December too, wouldn't they?
Yes, but she sometimes taps into the
Yes.
warmth and more.
Yeah, the fund,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
Yeah, so this is primarily just for rent, and she only helps people, I believe, just 1 month. Like, I can't show up and say I'm 3 months behind, and they take care of me, so.
I'll make a motion to cut rent by $5,000, so that would be $57,000.
I'll second it.
So Linda made the motion. Paul, was that you, the second?
That was.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, just wondering the logic or backup you have behind it for the 5,000.
Well,
Is it just a number that you,
I'm looking at the rate of spending, and then adding,
Right.
if we're spending the same amount as we did this month for two would come out to 49,000, so I stuck a little bit more in there to not make it too tight. And yes, we could get slammed on it, but it seems like we got a large budget, and
And I seconded it because it looks like a run rate discussion, end of year, 5,000, one way or the other. If there's a to use the term slam, if there is an occurrence that drives it over. We have flexibility in our appropriation to find the money. So I'm fine with second on the motion.
Anybody else?
I'm good with that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay.
Looks like the next one was CASA, but it was done a night later, on 10/3. They did come in. Same with Lakes Region VNA. They did end up coming in on 10/9. So
we're
there's
done with
really,
Well, I would like to look at the agencies. We do have the Greater Wakefield.
that is correct.
That's a new one this
down.
year.
Down below, yeah.
It's not a huge amount of money, but it's a new request, and I didn't know what people wanted to do about that. We can leave it and see if it flies for the Budget Committee, or we can cut it.
Let the Budget Committee look at it.
Budget Committee? I'm fine with it. I just wanted to note that that is a new one.
Is that a motion from Dave?
Dave, well, if nobody wants to cut it, we just leave it
Yeah.
as is.
Leave it alone?
Yep.
Yeah. We're down
Okay.
13.94% for the,
Assessing outside services, and that has to do with if we do a reeval, usually the year we do the reeval, we don't do the cyclical update. So that, do you have the page numbers?
Sorry, I didn't get there.
I can find it, but it'll... Oh, I thought you had them down in the chart.
Yeah. So Linda, that tees up the, what do we want to do?
Page 20 under General Government.
Thanks.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. 384, right here.
Bless you. That tees up the question about what are we going to do about reevaluation.
Well, I think we have to do the reevaluation this year. There's no getting around it. And when we do a reeval, we don't do the cyclical update.
Right.
And my feeling is we cut it.
I agree.
yes.
I'll make a motion that we cut line 384 in the assessing budget to 0.
Second.
Second. Or did you already second?
You can do it. I
Okay.
did it, but you can do it.
Couldn't hear you.
Okay. I'll make the motion and Brad will second. Is there any further discussion?
I'm just curious, because we talked about this last year, why that's even in there, because we knew we had to do our reevaluation this year.
We do not, there is no reval in the operating budget right now. The decision has not been made whether you're going to put it in here or you're going to put it in a warrant article.
Yeah.
So it's still
But
an...
either way, we have to pay for it somewhere, so this...
No, you could decide not to and then be forced to. I mean, those are all decisions that this board,
Like I said, we're going to pay for it some way this year, whether the state tells us to or we
Right.
voluntarily do it.
But it wouldn't be a cyclical update.
Correct, that's why I'm just
Yeah.
wondering why it was even put in.
for discussion point.
Okay.
We're having a discussion.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Yeah, right.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Nobody opposed? All right, that's out.
What's that?
Planning,
384. Planning is on page 9 under the Planning and Zoning tab.
So we're still actively recruiting for a town planner?
I think it may have come from somebody wondering whether the salary was high enough. Paul?
No, I think the question I had is if we don't have a planner on board, we're fully funding this for a year.
Correct, and we would utilize some of these funds for consultant purposes, which we do not have a consultant line in here beyond $2,000 for the purposes of paying for a circuit planner.
Okay. Do you want to do anything here?
Any theory on when you think a planner would be, a full-time planner would be here? No theory, nothing, right?
Sometimes.
So reasonably speaking, we're at a minimum a couple of months away from getting that done. We're going to have the circuit planner. Is the consultancy fees for the circuit planner about the same?
I would say they're about the same, but we're not getting the same amount of time in the office.
About the same, but you're also not getting are you getting the perquisites that go with it, the healthcare and,
No?
We also have a little bit of part-time support, supporting that consultant. So when we budget, we're not going to budget for the what-ifs, right?
Right.
So we
No.
want to have a full year of the planner, and that planner's salary will be used as a Band-Aid till we get that position full, because we still have the tasks to complete.
And it's not loaded.
Yeah, I'm comfortable leaving it as is for that purpose there to fund the circuit planner we have in there now, the extra work that we have, another person in the staff helping out, knowing that we're eventually going to hire somebody during the course of the next year to fulfill that. So I'm good with leaving it in as is.
I'm comfortable with that.
yeah, I'm
too.
comfortable, yeah, leave it alone.
Dave, you okay
Yeah,
with that?
I'm okay with that. Yeah, you?
Brian?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Okay,
good.
we'll just move on then.
It's a good placeholder.
All right,
As long as we don't
Brewster
spend it for
Building.
other things.
Page 13. The footnote here says, what is the correct number for contract?
To be there for.
Gas is currently at $2.84 and diesel is at $3.28. I don't know if you want to make moves on this on Wednesday night, or if you want to wait till the end game, which is what Jim and I did last year. We did it at the Budget Committee.
I'd do it later.
I guess I asked it, and I didn't know what the bid price for oil, heating oil, and I thought we had a price on heating oil, or did we not? Because I had, they used $2.72.5, and I looked in the back and I saw it as $3.11. So I was asking what figure should they have calculated it as?
Okay, so my apologies. I wrote down fuel, so I looked up gas and diesel. I did not look up oil. Sorry.
That's okay. That's my question.
Yep, when I wrote
'Cause-
fuel down, I did not write oil.
Because when I looked at it, I thought it was $3.11,
Right.
and I'm not
believe you are.
sure, so that was
I
my...
believe you are correct. I believe it is the
All right, can I just
$3.11.
ask a
So-
question? Casey,
Yes?
you said something that I didn't hear at all. What you did last year, you did what now?
So at the end of the process, but it was during Budget Committee, Jim and I look and make sure, like, this could be $5 or it could be $2. We'd go make recommendations for change, so everybody is as close as possible at
So
the
you
last
you
moment.
bought time, had it done at the Budget Committee, and you were closer to the right answer?
That's correct.
I'm comfortable with that.
I am too.
And I will do the same thing for the oil.
You okay with that, Lon?
Well, they were given instructions to use one number, and they used a different.
Yeah.
That's what my issue was,
And
when I
this-
went to check it. But if they're all going to be changed at some time, heating oil, it's no big deal.
Yeah, all the fuel lines will be looked at.
Okay, I can deal with that.
Thank
I'm
you.
comfortable, yeah, thank you.
And that's the same with the water and sewer.
Yep.
Lakes Region V&A.
Well, that's when they came back again. Sorry.
Okay,
It's a
that's in
duplication of
twice,
the thing
okay.
above.
And there's the Greater Wakefield, and we took care of that one.
Yep.
We're leaving it alone. Okay. Fire and rescue, vehicle, must be maintenance. Fire and rescue,
Page 4, vehicle maintenance, account number 430.
If I might, Kaya has, we made up a packet for each of what you indicated at the last meeting you wanted to revisit. And she'll
Good.
be handing those out and take them in any order you feel appropriate.
Yeah,
Although I would point out, Chief Warren is here for the public safety building revisit. If you could see your way clear to doing that first, let him go home.
Oh, okay.
But again, we made up a packet of backup material for each of the.
Okay, why don't we, if you can go home, we will, we will skip it.
I can hear his stomach growling from here.
So on page 18 then is the public safety building.
That's good.
The note is under 435, building maintenance.
Right. What page was it again? I was.
18.
Thank you.
The ask was 30,000 and they've spent 12. You wanted to break it out and make a list.
Wow.
They got thicker and thicker.
There you go.
They passed them out.
All right. 17, 18. Here comes some more, guys. And this looks like
We're doing
another
EMS
one here. This is the public safety building.
First batch out of KC.
If we could just let the chief come up and we'll just do the public safety building, he can kind of sit, you could, and he'll just share the mic with you. And we're looking at,
Good evening.
good evening.
Chiefs?
Chiefs.
Chiefs?
Chiefs.
Okay, and it was building maintenance we were after.
It's easier if you hand them out yourself.
Actual spent,
As you-
request. All right, we're looking at building maintenance. It was 12,000 plus in 2023, 13,000 in 2024, and there's a request for 30,000. And we were, all right. Okay, this is, you're picking,
435, page 18?
Correct.
Thank you.
and there is one, he was pointing out that there is now needing to be a routine inspection and cleaning of the underground stormwater management system, and this was not part of the other building.
Linda, can you show me which sheet you're looking at?
This is one that
I just passed them out.
they just should be coming down to you.
Should be heading down.
It should say, revisit public safety building maintenance. Did it get all the way down to you? Oh, here they are, they're stopped here.
Oops,
I can't see that from here.
the engine stalled, right?
That's right, we have.
Not sharing.
A spot that,
Share. We have no building.
I think to sum it up, the gist of it is a number of things. One, as the new building comes online in the spring, we have no history with the new facility to draw from. So we've, as we discussed the last time, I think, we asked the electrical engineer to give us an estimate of what he expected us to use for kilowatt hours, which is in that budget and is up somewhat from the current. We asked the engineer as well to estimate propane use and so forth, and that's reflected in here. It's frankly a best guess because we can't, for example, pull a 5-year history because it's a whole new building. The reference to the cleaning, frankly, is it's a bigger building with more areas that need routine cleaning. Police and fire will continue to do their daily chores, if you will, but, you know, a weekly deep cleaning of public areas and essentially every other week or once a month in more remote areas, if you will, is included in the estimate we got from our cleaning company. And I included the backup material. It's, I admittedly some hen scratch, but it kind of gives you a sense of the 2 floors of the building and which areas we're talking about. I've since learned from the library director that they're very pleased with their company, and we're going to have them look at the same thing and see if we could perhaps gain some economies of scale there.
I think this is great backup, and it should be part of the book for the Budget Committee so they understand what you're talking about here that needs to be maintained, that makes the difference. Board members?
Question for the chief.
Sure.
So what I'm looking at is, you call them the public areas. What about the areas where, we're taking off gear? We're cleaning those areas. Is that in this, or is that incremental?
No, that's
on
it's
another-
assumed that we will do that as needed on, I don't want to say an as-needed basis, but in accordance with
Whatever
the
standards you
nature
have
of
to follow.
the material might be.
Okay, I got it.
My gut tells me that if we put that out to some kind of bid, if they're going to consider it a hazardous material situation, and I think we can continue to do what we've been doing. The new building is designed for ease of cleaning of that decon area.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to make sure I understood that.
Yeah.
And last time I followed this
We
movie,
literally put
You
clouds
created an
around the floor
environment where
spaces
you
we're
can-
talking about.
whatever you call it, decontaminate.
Sure.
But that's not in this cleaning, in this.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
I got it. Thank you. Yep. Thanks. Good backup. I agree with Linda.
Does anybody else have any questions, any more? I think this is what we were looking for.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we're done with the public safety building.
Glad I could be helpful.
Yeah. Great. Thank you for all your
in
help on this
fairness,
one.
we represent both departments. We represent both departments in this, and
They
I
were
felt it was a
short and to
better
the
look
point.
if
They
the
were
chief
very
was here to
concise.
assist us if we needed to, but.
All right, now we've got all this paper that got handed out, and I hope I passed it all.
Now the hard part begins.
No, I've been back up here. Let me get some more going here.
Like glucose.
This one, assuming these are all the same. Yep,
So I believe your next one is probably vehicle maintenance,
okay.
430.
We're going to go back to fire is the start. Good night. And we're going to vehicle maintenance, which is 430. Vehicle maintenance.
Vehicle maintenance,
Yep.
page 4.
So I think the big takeaway here was there's an ask of 39,000 year-to-date. They've spent 19.
Yep.
As of this morning,
Okay.
our year-to-date was 25.4, and we've since sent down a purchase order with a quote for tires, round figure $6,000, and if that we include that in that total,
Yep.
that puts us at 83% expended for the year with 2 months to go. It's pretty much on target.
Okay. All right. That sounds good.
So these are all planned expenditures, and I think the ask was, why are you not spending at a rate? So these are not hurry-up expenses, these are planned, programmed expenses?
For the most part, there is a line for general repairs for stuff that we may not anticipate. But I would point out, with none of us having had any current experience with a default budget, we deliberately delayed some of the more elective expenses to see where we would end up when we got to this point of the year, and here we are.
Okay,
The next one is
got it.
EMS supplies.
EMS supplies, and we were trying to find out, you had let's see, where, supplies.
Asking for, spent one.
Gotta move over. Oh, bottom of the page.
EMS supplies.
So it's in the bottom of page 4.
Yep. And the question was, you only spent 1,000, whether any of the whether there was anything in here for ambulance supplies, And why the large increase?
So there's no money in there for ambulance supplies. I misspoke, I think, at the last meeting. When you said all the ambulance monies are going to be in the ambulance warrant article. So this $4,000 is just to cover our day-to-day EMS operations.
Okay,
We
so-
have a PO, I'm not sure if it's reflected in the most recent one or not, that's gone down for somewhere in the neighborhood of $900 for some supplies last week for defibrillator pads. And in the backup, I just listed a few items that we stock for our use on victims or patients. We've tried in the past couple of years to take a more active role at EMS calls since we've started going through some of our backlog of EMS supplies.
So the Budget Committee is going to see that there's been nothing in this line item before. And so,
Right. If you remember, this was new last year. We broke it out of another line, try to be more transparent. And then it got rolled back into the line when we went to default. So it's kind of new again, if you will.
So what was it pulled from? Do you remember?
I want to say
I think that it was pulled from maintenance supplies.
I believe you're correct.
If you look at maintenance supplies, 2024 budget was $4,000. This year, it's $2,000.
can we get an explanation there, that that's where it came from? Because it was, because we had a default, you had nothing, because it came from
Right,
someplace.
and you'll see that again in another line that you asked about. Just
And so if, after EMS, if you can put came from line item, blah, blah,
I'm confirming that right now. on
Well, I
next
think you
year's
said it
budget.
in your memo. It said, you used to take the number used to get populated in budget line item 630, maintenance supplies.
Correct.
So now you're pulling it out and you're showing it as a separate line item, and that's good transparency. I just have two questions on your could I do that, Linda? I have two.
yeah, and then I'll go back to the book.
I got two questions on your memo. Well, first, thanks for doing it. Second, first question, who's directed you to take a more active, what does it say here? I have been directed when appropriate to take the lead in patient care.
That was a directive from me.
From you, okay.
directed that,
So
yeah.
you're, I just wanted to know. So you're doing glucose monitoring on people? So you literally are looking at somebody and you're popping a glucose thing on? 'Cause
Correct.
That sounds like a real full-blown EMS function, right?
Yes. Yep, that's in the protocols for all EMS providers in the state of New Hampshire. So-
Okay.
So last year, there was a 315 line that was budgeted at, it was budgeted, I believe, at
I don't feel so bad
4,000,
anymore.
and the budget committee removed 500 from it last year.
Okay.
So it would have been a $3,500 budget last year when it went through the,
So let's put this memo in, and then on this line, because some people just go by line, do that explanation
Speak to it.
in the regular printout under 6.
Already done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where would Narcan be?
I think I just listed medications there. We carry that in all of our first-in bags along with the nasal atomizer.
But
So
you'd fund that out of this line.
yeah, so just to be clear, a lot of the medications are provided to us via the hospital.
Okay,
So-
got it. All right, thanks. It's good to know.
Okay. All righty. Next one is supplies,
Safety equipment.
maintenance supplies, is that one?
Yeah, that was another one that I think,
Okay.
and I'll kind of look at Casey because she may be able to help us, but kind of got caught up in this is what we proposed versus what it ended up being because of default and stuff. But at the end of the day, the maintenance supplies in the 2024 budget, we requested $2,000, but I believe when we went to default, it backed up to $4,000, which had been the previous ask in '23.
Correct.
We're asking for $2,025, and I would note year-to-date, we spent $2,001.
This
Okay.
was a mirror image of the EMS
It's the
supplies.
same concept, yes.
Okay,
It took me a while to chase it down. I had to go back as far as 23, but it appears that it kind of reverted to the previous line because we had broken that out, and there it was. And we've literally spent 2001 in round figures as of today.
okay. And we can just put all this as backup.
6:30.
Safety equipment,
want the whole
680.
Safety equipment.
So this is, last year's budget, as proposed, was $52,077, and they're asking for $54,130. And this is, again, one of those weird items with the default budget. Their budget
Yeah.
item actually went back up from their proposed reductions.
The real way to calibrate this is your run rate is around 53-ish. Over the past couple of years, except for 22, you had a big spike, but they're in the 50s if you average it out.
Correct. And yeah, that includes gear for the proposed new hire that's elsewhere in the budget.
Okay, I think that's all that's in the budget. I think the other one is capital outlay. I think it's car one. The car one, yes. All
The car.
right.
So I put together this memo. It's just a bunch of bullet points on the car and where we stand. Since our last meeting, we did get an updated quotes from a local company for the body work on the car to bring it up to the standard that would allow Ben to put a sticker on it next year, and that figure came in at $12,451.72. Also got a hold of Grapponi Ford, who is, as of right now, is the state bid dealer for the Ford Expedition that we're asking for, and we got a trade-in value of anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000, obviously to be determined on mileage and final inspection once trade-in comes. So I also made a note in there, the 78.5 ask reflects the state bid purchase price and then additional funds to cover sirens, lighting, moving radios and the command box from the old vehicle to the new vehicle. Happy to answer any questions. There's a picture of the rust on the back page.
Yeah, lovely
in black and
photo.
white.
Thank you for the photographs. Like, question, Linda?
I could have brought
Sure.
a piece.
So 5K to trade it, 12K to fix it, 78K to buy a new one,
Yes, sir.
9-year-old vehicle.
Correct.
And that 78.5 is radios, lights,
Striping.
it's all in.
Decals.
You're done, it's got the,
That's,
okay.
yeah, all in, yep.
We can never move lights and sirens from one vehicle to another?
Can't say never. Talking with OME, the age of the lights and the sirens that are in the current vehicle, moving them to a newer vehicle can be expensive and problematic. So Wayland, who is the producer of these things, has a 10-year warranty on all lights and sirens, which would cover the lifetime of, presumably, of the new command vehicle.
And I don't know this, but I'd assume that if you had the radios to move them over, you probably don't want to do that because you want to buy new radios anyway, right? And so you may be moving an older vintage radio technology into a new car.
I might point out the radio
fair-
ask in CIP got pushed back a year, so that isn't happening.
Is that a fair
looking at
kind of
right
thing to
now.
say? You'd be pulling old radios out to put them in a new car when you really want new radios in the first place?
Well, they are transferring the radios in the command box from the old
This,
car to the new
this
car.
package includes taking the current radio that's in Chief's car and putting it in.
And that makes sense to do that?
It does right now because I think the radio project is still an unknown. It's up in the air as far as when it's going to be approved or take action on that.
5K trade, 12K fix, so 73 net to buy a new one. That's kind of the 78 minus 5, 73 net.
3 to 5, but
Yeah, right,
if we
okay.
get lucky with it, yeah.
So just from my brain and understanding, is Ford just your preferred vehicle, or do other companies, does Toyota, Nissan, Chevy, do they also do these type of packages, or is Ford the only one that's doing it
They're
right
not,
now?
they're not the only one that does it. They were the one when we started looking at this project that had the state bid for the Expedition. The other manufacturers at the time for the state bid didn't have like the Blazer wasn't on there, for example, or whatever the comparable example would be for Toyota. The state bid has not come out for 25 yet.
Okay,
Expect that within a month or two.
okay.
Nate, do you know if the command unit would fit in the back of a different vehicle?
Well, that was one of the considerations that,
We sent all the specs down to Grapponi, and they verified that it will fit.
Okay.
So I pulled out my CIP. The radios did get moved to 2026. So from the CIP point of view, excluding whatever we decide to do with the ambulance, which I see as another unit, there is nothing in 2025 for the fire department. So this capital outlay would be the only kind of large
correct.
capital.
Correct.
Okay. Anybody? I'm comfortable leaving it in.
I am too.
I have a question. I know it's 9 years old. Is there any way to keep, now this is, I assume, frame rot is what's causing this?
I guess more rocker panel in that
panels?
sort of area than frame itself, but
Okay,
it actually surprised me. I hadn't, when we wash it and so forth, we use brushes, and I actually looked at the rocker panel and pieces were falling off.
yeah. Only because,
Ben did not indicate to us specifically, I think, that it was framed, but it's
Yeah,
enough of an issue to question the ability to put an inspection sticker on it.
so we've had two large fire apparatus that we had rot issues and they went away, and now we're having a car that has rot issues and it's going away. Is, in our new building, are we going to have the ability to store that car inside? Do you have better facilities to rinse them down during the winter when salt is prevalent on the roads, things like that?
So the intent is to store the car in we call it Bay 2, kind of the smaller garage bays, if you will, on the north side of the building. And there's drains in there and hoses to wash vehicles down.
Okay.
we-
And I assume that your parking lot has to be heavily treated to keep it very, very, very clean.
We get significant amounts of salt during storms.
Yeah, because you need the ability to get in and out easily with large vehicles and stuff. I'm wondering if Steve, because Steve has been working on treating the roads without using as much salt and being just as effective. I wonder if he can put together some kind of creative plan to do the same around your
I think
facility.
we're certainly open to that, and we'd be willing to talk to Steve.
Yeah,
I also
Steve, step
think
it up, baby.
the additional, with the construction, the improved drainage and grading and so forth, I would hope would help give us some ability to reduce that. I'll be honest with you, that's been a question from staff for a number of years, because obviously, once we get back to somewhat normal operations, people park their personal vehicles on site, usually in the rear, when they come to work in the morning, and get sprayed with salt every time the trucks go by. And it's not a criticism of highway or anything else. They got to do what they have to do, but
I know in the old days, and the Consumer Report said it for years, that when you go in and get undercoating and Z-Bart and all these other after services from dealerships, it really doesn't help. But I'm wondering, do the fire and law officers, is there some kind of,
All of our fire apparatus get New Hampshire oil, so the undercoating.
the
They are undercoated.
highway department, the chief mechanic does the New Hampshire oil application.
Okay.
And we have done that since he has been able to do it on essentially an annual basis. He did do the car, starting a couple of years ago, and frankly, I think he might have bought us a year or two of slowing it down. But to your point, yes, when the car's in the building, it's parked indoors, but I don't have a garage. It's parked outside at my house when I go
Yep.
home at night.
Yeah, that was going to be my, I'm sorry, Linda, can I?
Go ahead.
Steve, can you fix this? No. So you're home garaging your cars. Is that,
The car is a take-home vehicle for me,
okay.
or when I'm committed on a weekend or on vacation or out of town.
I'm not
the
questioning
deputy
whether
gets
you
it.
should or you
No.
shouldn't. That car is not necessarily in the barn. When it's in the barn, you wash it,
Right.
okay? And because the same question, I think, is going to always gets asked of our good friends in the police department, do they take cars home? And that saves you from having to drive in, pick up your car, and then go to a fire, and, okay, I got it. So if what do you get for another, I'm inclined to say this doesn't make sense at the moment, but a 9-year-old vehicle, it's going to cost us 73 grand. How much time do we buy? I'm asking you to guess, so this is not good. How much time do we buy if we put 12,000 into it? That's like asking you, what happens if we put an old used motor on your fireboat?
Right.
So I'll note that the quote that we got is just to fix the rust, so that Ben can sticker it. In Ben's email, he also said the suspension is rusting at an alarming rate and will need to be closely monitored. That's not quoted.
So now you're telling me the wheels are going to fall off.
Well-
Rocker panels are hosed up and the wheels could fall off.
I might point out, too, that in the quote, I'm not sure if it came through because it was highlighted in our version, but if it's black and white, it was highlighted in yellow. There are a couple of parts that the estimator said are no longer available. So we would probably, if we
Like
chose
what?
to go down that road, we may be scavenging junkyards.
So are we now talking about a useful life of about 8 years of car one? Well, I mean, because I don't have any, thing that tells me we put this in. What is its useful life? And
To the best of my knowledge, in my time, we've always assumed a 10-year lifespan and generally have gotten it.
Have not.
10 years is next year. That's,
Linda's asking the asset management question.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I had a Kia Sorento that was mine that went to my son Brody's that was outside for 8 years, and there was virtually no rot underneath it. And I wouldn't say that Kias are known to be the most durable and expensive automobiles on the planet.
I would also add a couple of items. One, these vehicles are out in the most
Interesting
indecent weather
Yeah.
known to man. Number two, the salt treatment in the parking lot, I think, is a moot subject because they're going so slow through the parking lot that they're not throwing any debris up. And I would also state that most of the problem is on state-controlled roads,
Where they put that gooey stuff.
which Steve has no control over. And lastly, the reason why we're seeing problems with these vehicles, I think, is unfortunately the road treatment materials, and unfortunately they get garaged sometimes, and that just exacerbates the problem of these things coming into a warm area, out to a cold area, back into a warm area, back out to a cold area. I was kind of dumbfounded myself that this was as in poor condition as it is, especially with 50-some thousand miles on it. I'm driving a 13-year-old truck that's never been garaged,
Yeah.
is in pretty decent shape, and has 70,000 miles on it. So there's a lot of extenuating factors here, and I think one of the biggest ones are these things are out in the most inopportune weathers.
Brad?
Yeah, and there's one other thing that I've learned over the years too, I've talked to a lot of body shops, is that the steel they're using nowadays in building these vehicles, for the last 10, 15, 20 years, isn't as clean as it was back in the 30, 40 years ago. So these cars are coming through, a lot of the rust is starting from within, behind the paint. It's not from stuff getting thrown up, chipping off the paint and rusting from the outside. It's actually rusting, the steel's starting to rust below the paint and bubbling out through. So there is that. There's another factor, as Jim said, that there's a lot of different things at play here on the life expectancy of a vehicle. So
And then I think was what I was getting at, what is our life expectancy? And we're seeing that we had some trucks that we thought we were going to get 25 years out of, didn't get close to that. And I think what you're saying is part of what we're dealing with, so we should probably take a look at.
just a little.
I think we may need to readjust. And, then we're kind of planning for it.
U.S. Department of Transportation, as of May 2024, the average age of vehicles in the United States is 12.6 years, a record high. So we think the old cars were made like tanks, and they were safe, and they were made of great stuff, and they used inferior coatings, inferior protection, didn't have drainage in their steel tubes, and I
They
remember
lasted forever.
if you got 100,000 miles on a car and it lasted 8 years when I was a kid, you were
mine did.
blessed.
He's just describing my Jeep.
It depends
A year out
upon
of
what
the
you,
lot, a year out of the lot, it's got bulbous. You know what, I'm.
Let's get you a new car.
I'm good with this.
Yeah, let's get you a
Okay.
new car, and I challenge you to make it last 12.6 years.
We'll do our best.
okay, let's keep on going.
I would say that we would be able to start with the
good with
undercoating
this.
on day one, which I think will go a long way to helping.
Thank you.
Well, you guys need to work out an asset management plan for it, in whatever way it is, and show it to us as we go on year after year. It helps
No,
us.
we do submit it with our budget, and reviewing some of the comments and so forth, we have never included the building in our asset management plan, and we need to look at that, especially
Absolutely.
starting from
You got an $11
new.
million
Yes.
asset.
Yeah.
You gotta have a
Yeah.
plan to manage it.
But
Right.
as far as department assets, we do submit as part of the budget a 10-year look forward as to what we anticipate.
Well, I don't think
It's
we,
generally at the end of the narrative that we supply.
How's that?
I don't think we got the
presumably it's-
narrative this year.
What's that?
I don't have a narrative.
What's that?
When I say narrative, I mean the cut and paste of the justification of each line and so
Oh,
forth.
because at one point you used to give us
Still do.
a written narrative.
Yeah,
No, it was decided 4 years ago not to put that in the book.
okay, well, we supply it, I guess it doesn't make it to you.
Okay, we can address that at
Yeah,
some
no,
other
that's easy to fix. On that note, if you go back to our last meeting, when there was some question about some of the language about biweekly cleaning and stuff, that's literally a cut and paste from that document, but I have edited it based on your comments the last time. I was going to forward it, and I said I'll wait until tonight to see if there was something else that was going to change, but I was going to forward it to Jim tomorrow. But that's literally all the backup. We literally go line by line like we used to.
Yeah, I think some of it is just, we have the questions, we get the backup in there, then the budget committee reads it, so they don't have to go over the same thing. Is anybody else have any comments on the car? Have we killed that?
Yeah, we killed it. Christine's waiting. Come on.
We've killed it.
Beat it to death.
No, we've killed the conversation.
Christine's waiting. Come on, let's go.
You're the one who's talking all the time, so don't rush me.
And with the public safety building, I believe there was discussion last time that we didn't catch. In the electric line, we lost or gave up one of the streetlights in the back of the public safety building parking lot as part of the construction. Was able to identify which one that was, and I just emailed Casey this afternoon to say you can reduce the line. It's a couple $100, but it's 150 watt sodium went away.
Yeah, so that, we're going to take care of all of that tomorrow
But
night,
I can only do it on my end. I can't do it in the
Wednesday.
workbook.
Wednesday.
I'm not going to be here tomorrow.
Okay, Wednesday. I've been corrected, you're right, Wednesday. I'm not going to be here tomorrow anyhow. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, I believe, is going to be Parks and Rec.
Wash your car.
Kaya, these all belong to
No.
you. I think so. There should have been 3. I don't know if the mess got mussed in together.
Another
No, those are all mine.
mistake.
Yep, I don't see it. They're probably missed in. You too?
See you tomorrow.
Okay. The first one, I think, was when we said a capital asset plan for each department to include vehicles, building, and equipment, and that was something you're going to work on. So that one, we don't have to go today.
I also put it at the bottom, and so every department head saw that on 10/17, you had said that. See all capital plans for departments to include vehicles, buildings.
I seem to have a few wants there.
Yeah, that's okay.
All right, we are park maintenance at line 740, machinery and equipment.
You wanted specific tools. I'm still working on that with my maintenance crew.
Add details to the worksheet. So
And
that's
it
all.
said miscellaneous, so you want actually specific, so I'm getting the numbers for that to put it in there.
Okay, so you're going to add, so there really isn't anything we need on that. You're going to add to book for budget committee.
And I would just state, $3,500 is the same number that she did ask for last year prior to the budget being cut and the default number coming back into play of 1,300.
Question?
Okay, should we, I'd like that noted on the sheets for the budget committee, so we know, they know that.
Question?
Yep.
Was that cut back, was that the tractor?
No.
Or was that
No.
someplace else? I
No.
wasn't here, I'm just trying to
There's
catch
no
up.
tractor in there.
Okay, I'm just catching up.
Yep.
Trying to catch up, thank you.
You're welcome.
So, okay, that's fine.
Do you have the revenue?
Yeah, page 1.
Were you able to calculate those revenues for us?
Not yet. You wanted specifically Abenaki or
Yeah.
all of them?
I think it would be good if you did all of them.
I'm in the process of doing them, but I was separating them out.
Yes.
I also was trying to show, because I know there was some confusion with Paul understanding some things. So we have a revolving program, which we run some programs out, but I was going to specifically list, I'm working on the totals and everything, of programs that come out of the general fund. So we know exactly what's coming out of that general fund.
Yeah. And after you get that, if they can just put it in the book, but also just send that out to
Yes.
the Board of Selectmen. Good to have figures to
I should have that by Wednesday for you.
And I
Okay.
think the genesis of the question, thank you for, for taking up the challenge. The question is, what do you want to go more into? What do you want to pause? What do you want to stop? I think those three levers for everything we do in front of the public, it's a fair question. And we should be able to show them, hey, we run program X, we get this many people who show up, they love it, and that answers a lot of questions. Absent that, it generates a lot of questions,
Except for all those people who are taking part in them.
except for all those people who are taking part in it.
Yes, like using our pickleball courts. Nobody has a question there. Okay, capital outlay, the mower. And that was
mower.
The mower. Here's the first
We were
one.
looking at the life cycle of the mower, so I'm still getting the answer on that. And then we were trying to figure out if it was in a contract.
Was it in a contract?
Right now, the John Deere that we use is one that when it's in the warranty, we do the warranty stuff with the company. And then when it's out, we utilize Ben. So if it's in that beginning stages, we do the first few tune-ups and checkouts or whatever until the warranty is up. But I'm still waiting for clarity on that, so I will have the final answer hopefully by Wednesday.
Okay, back in Wednesday. Okay, then the other one is the tennis and basketball court refinishing. I have been chasing down Joe Santoro to see if we can get any kind of help on that, and you're going to give me the name of the other. This is a large capital outlay item. I don't know where the other board members are on it.
We have a quote into it. We have a call into another company who's quoting us currently. So we just have to get them some pictures. I think we did that today, so we're just waiting for that. And then we did reach out to the other company just to see if we could have a conversation to see if that's true. We did reach out to Wolfeboro, who recently had a couple of their courts resurfaced, not as many. And the price they paid seems, with the as amount of courts we have, seems to be comparable. So it does seem to be true to form. But we're still getting final answers for you. Hopefully by Wednesday we should have those.
So there were two parts to the issue, if I remember. One part was, is the number to resurface the court accurate, realistic, within a range of
Reasonable.
reasonableness.
Right.
But the other question was that there are organizations using the courts that are charging their constituents a fee, and we're parsing that court time out with no fee. Isn't that the question?
I think that was part of a
So,
question.
yeah, so there's two questions. One is the number to fix to resurface accurate? And if somebody is using our facilities, charging a fee to use our facilities, and we're not getting any compensation for that, does that make sense? And I think, is that why maybe
Yeah, and
you're chasing somebody down for an answer?
I guess that I don't know if they're charging somebody to use it or being a member of the club, they have a fee.
Well, they have a fee for that tournament. So there is a fee
that
charged for
tournament.
that
Okay,
tournament.
yep,
And I
it was
believe
the
there
tournament.
is, they need to be a member of the pickleball world as well.
Yeah.
Where did the funds come to build those courts in the first place? Was it raised by the community? Was it on a warrant article? Was it a donation from the tennis group at the time?
I believe it was a warrant.
General
I have
fund.
no idea when we
Probably out of the
built
general.
those tennis courts have been there. The pickleball courts were a donation.
Right.
The two on, and then we took the one court and made it pickleball, and then we have 3 just tennis, right? And
Yeah.
one that can be. The basketball courts, as far as I can remember, the kids always went down there to play
Yeah, the
those
basketball
sports.
courts were put in
Tennis-
the mid-'70s along with the Little League field and the playground, after the Department of Interior allowed us to build those 3 facilities on the capped land. The tennis courts came in later, I believe in the late 80s, early 90s, I was told, and it was also mentioned to me that money was raised through a Wolfeboro Tennis Club group, but I haven't been able to substantiate that
Brad?
I know that the tennis courts were built in the late 70s.
that early.
I know because my father built them, and that's when he was around.
Small detail.
And I believe it was a town warrant that did it at the time there. I don't believe the Wolfboro Rec Club had anything to do with it because they were up by Kingswood at the time, and they went out and they built their new facility out behind what was at the time Parsons Furniture, which is now at Allen Wayside or whatever it is there now. So, but that's what the time frame that those went in.
All right, that's good information because somebody told me something completely different, and I believe that they knew what they were
I guess they
suggesting
didn't.
to me.
All right.
I think the other question for the courts were, could we wait a year and save the money? Is that right?
Well, there were a couple. One, we could put it out as a warrant article and pull it out altogether. We could do it in half this year, half another year.
Capital reserve.
You know, do a capital reserve for it, or we leave it in the budget and see what happens, and then we could do any one of those two if we so chose at a later date.
So that's one of the questions we're asking the company, though. Is it smart to wait a year, or does it look like it should be done next year? So we're trying to get some clarity on that.
Okay.
And Bo kind of cautioned us all that if you get a crack in that thing, then it's curtains. It's not good. Yeah, okay.
Well, you can fill a crack 1
If it
year.
goes down to the deeper than the surface level is what he was saying, and we're just, there's a timeline for it. I think it's every 6 years you're supposed to redo it. So we're just making sure if we were to put it off a year, does the court still look well enough that it could be okay? And that's, we just want
Perfect.
an expert to tell us that.
Yeah,
If you
perfect.
put it off a year, what would it, what do you, so there may be a bid on the table that says, put it off a year. How would you react to that? You're going to say it's doom and bad and?
I guess, I would want an expert who's done courts before to look at it to see some of the cracks that we
bad
have
idea.
so far. Are they too deep that if you wait another year, could it, and you get a big freeze, could it impact it? So that's why we want them to just come and look at it to give us, well, that looks a little deeper than it
idea.
should be. And if you put it off another year, we don't know what could happen. So that's why we're getting someone
Can
to
you
look at it.
ask him, is there any way to fill the cracks? Is
Yes.
there a filler that you could put?
There
in?
is some that you can do a slight, it doesn't look very good when you're doing it, but
I
that's one
mean-
of those things that if it is just minor, maybe we could just fill it slightly to stop it. And actually this past Summer, we did have, when I had them come quote, I did have a couple cracks that I did have the guy come out and look at, and we filled them on the basketball court and the tennis court.
Right. So, if we decide to do, a 2-year or some kind, if there's a way to fill it and hold it until we get to be able to do the full thing,
Yes.
just as a bunch of options. Yes?
One thing about this too is when you have cracks in a court like that, they're never going to get better on their own, obviously.
Right.
And depending on the type of winter that you have with the freeze-thaw cycles, and if you get rain combined with snow during the wintertime, going to get more moisture down inside the cracks, and you get another cold spell, it's going to freeze, and you're going to start getting some more heaving there. So the longer you let this go, the worse it could be, and you could have a possibility that you could get some more severe damage by letting it go an extra year or so.
Right.
My inclination is to address it as soon as possible, to eliminate it from getting any worse than it is now. Be my suggestion anyway, because you don't know what kind of winter you're going to get and what kind of damage
Right.
can happen during that winter and the spring and during those freeze-thaw cycles. So
Right. And I also, if it were, like if they said, okay, you could wait, I also need to get a price quote for the following year, like the price could go up. So we could say, well, we're going to save this amount of money, but it could go up higher. So I need to get that as well.
could go
I
up
was
and you
thinking-
could have more damage too
Yeah.
to
Right.
repair. So.
Well, that's what we're going to get from, but you take it in 45 a year is different than 85 and 1. That's where I was kind of going.
So
Let's take a look and see what makes sense.
you got any utilization stats on this one? You probably don't, right? Highly utilized, I'm leading the witness here.
Yes,
Highly
it is
utilized
highly.
facility. All right?
Definitely.
Needed, wanted, and loved by lots of people of all ages. It's a big number that could draw fire down the stream by, our colleagues in the Budget Committee. And I don't know the right answer here, but what's the bad idea, if there is one, of putting it out as a warrant?
Well, I'd first leave it and see if it goes through. Gets through the
For
budget.
the Budget Committee?
Yeah.
And then putting it out as a
And
warrant?
then we deal with the alternatives, is my 2 cents on it.
So that's a
This group is one of the first groups, I think, to go in front of the Budget Committee. So that would give us the time, if they did that on their first
Okay.
review, to,
But it also increases the operating budget and default differential by 85,000.
Yes, but regardless.
But on a 39
In terms
million,
of the taxpayer, you're going to pay either in the budget or in the
just
warrant.
pay me now, pay me some other way.
You're paying
Right,
one way or
I'm
another.
just saying that it is
No, I got
increasing
it.
the operating budget by 85,000, where we had no capital outlay last year.
But what it sounds like there's a tacit agreement. You might not have one, but it sounds like there's some agreement here that says we got, Brad is, do it. And I kind of hear that. I think the second question of, are we going to get somehow some compensation later on? That's a different question. But the do it thing sounds right to me. And if it's needed, wanted, valued, and the voter wants it, and the strategy could be put it through the budget, let the Budget Committee do what they have to do, and if it doesn't work, we take it out as a warrant. I'd be okay with that path.
I mean, that's our best shot right now.
I'd be okay with that.
And she's going to get other quotes.
You're going to get more numbers.
She's going to find out what condition it is, and if we can, wait another year. So let's, by Wednesday, right, you said?
Yes. Hopefully.
So we can hold off until then. This isn't on the revisit list, but I think it's something we need to take out of the budget, and that's the Clark House Museum Engineering. Didn't we okay that
It's-
expenditure out
It's
of
a capital.
Yeah,
2020?
I do believe that it's not on this sheet because we took it as an action item, so that can be removed.
Did we vote on it?
You did.
Okay.
Yep.
I still had it in my back. Okay. I'm ready. We got the sheet on administrative
One
allocation.
question, did you cover Abenaki 380?
No.
The increase from 6,200 to 11.6.
No, I didn't. I skipped right over that. All right, again.
What have you decided?
So I think the takeaway on this one was it was an 87% increase.
Yes.
$5,400, and you wanted more detail as to what the increase was.
So when I went through the budget, I looked at outside services 380. Last year, all that was in it was the first 4 items. It looks like what I added were things that were coming out of that line, so we moved it over. So it was previously in 435 was the security alarm monitoring. And because in other budgets is in the outside services, so I put it in there. The security alarm annual inspection wasn't put in, so I put it in. We were paying for it, but it wasn't in there. Federal background checks was previously coming out of 820, is now in this one. Cintas inspection was in 435, but it's an outside service. Same thing with fire extinguisher. The pump house annual service was in 433. The gator I didn't have in here, the annual service, but it's part of it that should be. And then septic and pest control were in 435 as well.
I'm on.
The preferred medical annual maintenance, I believe that, I don't think that was in there either.
So,
So some of these were moved around. When I did not do this last year, so I just inherited this budget, kind of looked at where things were coming out and was trying to be true to what we were actually paying, because a lot of things were not listed in here.
had we put on the book what got moved from another line?
If you help me.
Yes, I can.
Will you help her?
Written down,
Just
so I'll send that to you.
So that it's there for the
So
budget
they can
committee.
follow the bouncing
Yeah.
ball.
Yes.
That's all.
Well,
Yeah.
we're hoping, though, that they'll also be able to see it in the new budget report, because we're going to show the previous ask, right? And we're
Correct.
gonna-
Did they agree they wanted that? I didn't get the idea. I had the idea they thought that was.
Yeah, I was
No,
under,
there was 2 who didn't like it. The bookends didn't like it, and the other guys in the middle did like it.
okay, we need to get the chairman in and get a clarification on that one then.
Yeah.
Because I was under the impression that it was a dead item when the chairman said, let's just keep everything the same way as it was last year. But
That's what I
let's
left
get that
with
cleared
too.
up.
Probably would.
Because if you heard something different, then
I thought I did. The guys across from me were saying yes.
It's the Gator annual.
some of them seem to
service
like the idea, but,
Yeah.
here, and the snowmobile.
okay, we'll get clarification from him.
Okay, and if that's not the case,
Hopefully
then we
tomorrow.
can show where these moved.
So I have one question.
Yep.
How come the Gator annual service is under outside services, but the snowmobile ATV maintenance is under machinery maintenance?
Good question. We could move that over there.
I think the question is, how come it's there?
Yeah,
That's where it was taken out of last year, so I just put it back in there where he had it.
yeah.
But you're saying you think.
It probably should be under the machinery because
If
it's
you're
not,
going to fix a machine, it should be in the machinery service.
Correct.
Whether the
Well-
machine is a Gator or
Snowmobile
or a
or-
Razzie-Prance.
Yeah.
okay, so you want to move that one
These
back
are-
there?
I don't know. I mean, Casey,
Well,
was there a reason?
You can put them either both under machinery maintenance, or you can put them both under
So you
outside
guys have to make
services
a
if you have an
motion then.
outside company
Do
fix
them.
them.
Yep.
And you got the groomer annual service too, so that one's in machine maintenance.
Well, the groomers and that, isn't that under the lease?
That's under 433 machinery maintenance.
Well, I need to, I was just going to reach out to them to see, is there an annual maintenance on this groomer that we have a number for? So I was going to reach out to the gentleman to ask him, because we have something in there from the previous groomer, but I'm not sure if that's the same. And then my question is, should I put it all under that rentals and leases?
Probably not.
Yeah, I think it should go where it
So we'll come back.
So you got to define
You'll
outside
get this
services and
done.
machinery maintenance.
Well,
What's the difference?
You'll come back and you and Casey will decide what needs to go where.
And then we'll make it clear where we pulled it from, so they have have an
Just,
understanding.
you're going to have to make motions if you're moving the dollars. They'll have to make motions.
Okay.
Just get them and have the motions for us. We're willing to do almost anything. No.
Brian's right. I mean, the outside services may be a contracted service,
Yep.
it fixes it. Maintenance may be, we go
In-house.
down to Napa and we grab a handful of spark plugs and throw them at the thing. So for our reporting purposes internally, that might be a fine and dandy thing to do. But for the person who's looking at the budget book for the first time, it could draw fire.
Okay.
That's all.
Anything else on that?
We're done.
All right, so that takes care of yours. We'll see you on Wednesday.
Report back to detention on Wednesday.
That's right.
What was that?
She'll report back to detention on Wednesday.
The other things was water and sewer, but I don't have all those yet.
And
I'm
Casey's
going to
going to
handle
go
them
through.
globally.
Okay, perfect.
Casey's getting the bills right now. Don't worry about it.
I don't know about that.
Casey's going to get the bills.
Okay, do we want to go to admin allocations next?
Yep.
Casey?
I would suggest we do that after, so we can let these gentlemen leave.
Yes.
Right, if you do wastewater
Oh,
treatment.
God, I thought they'd just like to be here with
I
us.
don't think so.
All right,
They're not paying attention, though.
all right, we need,
Thanks.
we're going to do wastewater treatment plant and water plant doors. Those are the two we got up now. So we'll start with,
Are you hungry? You need a Kit Kat?
all right, waste, let's try. In the sewer fund, and we got the wastewater treatment plant.
Page 12.
Thank you.
Nope, don't need to.
So I believe that Steve had a meeting with the vendor last week.
That's right, he was going to,
He has a number for the 2025 contract for wastewater treatment.
So we are going up 4% to 834, 839.
834,
834, 839.
839.
And that, like I said, is a 4% increase from 2024.
8, 3, 4,
That was year 4, you said, right, Steve?
9. Okay. Anything else on that?
Brad had a question for you, Steve?
That was year 4, right, Steve?
Yes.
Contract, okay.
And we are working on, they're working on sending us over a 5-year extension piece, which we don't have just yet.
Yep.
And this is just for a reminder, this is a cost-plus contract
Excuse me.
that we have with them, and it does seem to be working well for both parties.
So do we need to make a motion to increase?
Yes, please.
Is that what
Contract
you're doing
services.
right now? 834, 839.
Yep.
Just for the record, it's $32,109 increase.
I'll make a motion to increase line item 43,263, 392 by that amount that Casey just read.
834, 839.
834, 839.
All
Second.
right, there was a motion by
Second.
Brad, second by Dave. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Now, we've got capital outlay water plant doors. And I think there's some question about size and,
There was a question about amount. Somebody may have put a 2 there instead of a 1, being me.
Who did that?
That would be me. So it's 3 sets of doors on 2 buildings for 15,000, not 1 door for 25. So
What page is that?
Well, there you go.
Capital outlay.
Yeah, what page on the capital?
I'm not there. I'm
great
fingered it.
I
savings.
fat fingered it.
sorry, I'm already making.
34.
34. I was on 35. I missed it by 1.
Repeat the amounts.
I'm sorry?
Repeat the amount.
15,000.
15,000.
So the board will have to change the worksheet, you and I, right? And the board will need to make a $10,000 decrease to the capital outlay, correct?
Correct.
Would somebody like to make that motion?
I'll move that. So
Second.
this will be, the doors will be 15,000, and it's three doors on 2 buildings.
Correct.
So it's 3 doors on 2 buildings,
3 doors, 2 buildings,
All right.
$5,000 a door.
$5,000 apiece, correct.
Okay,
Hey,
did I have a second on that?
Well, I just got a question.
I'm asking,
second.
he seconded it,
I
okay.
already seconded it.
Go
Well,
ahead.
that's what I was asking, did I get a second? I didn't hear you.
So, oops, sorry. So my question is, I know that a door can be, because I just had to buy one, $3,000 or so, but these must be a door.
These are
that's-
metal security doors.
Fire-rated doors.
Yeah, it's
so
not,
fire
they're not
rated,
Home
it's a
Depot.
commercial door
Correct.
that,
They're not Home Depot doors.
Okay.
They're,
all right,
yes,
okay. And that includes the installation?
yes.
Okay. So it's a $4,000 door and a $1,000 installation, and
Right,
they're-
Josh got quotes
Yeah,
for
they're made-
15,000
made for
for
Fort Knox.
3 doors. Yeah.
Jim, you're going to have in them snazzy door locks?
Probably not yet, but I do have a question. Does this include any panic hardware, or does this not have panic hardware on these doors?
It does not.
Okay. That just is an expensive
Any
item.
other questions or
What
concerns?
what are they made out of?
They're metal.
Just metal,
Yeah. They're
Gal-
metal.
galvanized or
They're metal security fireproof doors.
pre-coated from the factory?
Correct.
Okay.
Steel frames, too.
Steel frames. Yeah.
Any other comments or questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, that takes care of the doors. And I think that's all for you guys. You got to enjoy us all night long. Yeah.
up here.
We're-
Love you guys. More chances we get to spend with you.
Listen, you don't have to come back on Wednesday, okay?
I don't?
I don't think so.
Work on that salt in the parking lot over there for us.
I thought you were bringing dinner.
We don't have to come back?
I don't think so.
I will confirm, but I think right now the only one that I'm seeing is Casey, myself, and Parks and Rec.
Like you guys even more.
Just go in and change that outlay, capital outlay tomorrow.
Good night, gentlemen.
I'll go in and change it.
No, you just tell me you're done. You don't need to send it.
Steve?
Thanks, guys.
All right. Admin.
Evening.
Take one. Trick or treat.
So I believe Casey has calculated out the administrative allocations, and I believe you have that in front of you, and she'll be able to answer questions that you have.
So if we skip page 1 for a second, because that's the summary, up the top, this is the methodology that, not the right word, that has been done since 2019 with 2 different changes this year. We've added the Public Works Director into this calculation, taking his salary and doing 50% general fund, 25% water fund, and 25% sewer fund. And under the general government, insurance is not here, so you'll see some changes in those funds. Now, on the first page, on the right hand, you'll see that the water is going up $42,828, electric's going down $28,032, sewer's going up $44,970, and Pop Whalen's going up $3,228. A change of $62,994, which is 9.31%. The total admin allocations for the 4 enterprise funds is $787,379. I guess motion, you can make one motion, but it would be to make those changes, or I could read all of this to you.
Okay, does anybody have any comments, concerns on what?
I also, since I just handed it to you tonight, if you'd like to do this on Wednesday, we could.
Boards, what would you like? I guess I'd like to do it on Wednesday. I haven't had time to really look at all, and you've done a lot of work here and kind of make sure I understand it all.
Yeah.
How's everybody else?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
kind of okay
I
with
gotta
that.
come back anyway, so.
Yeah, you're stuck coming back. Just one, so it just strikes me that the insurance and the public works director are the only real ups that changed this allocation.
that's correct.
And the allocation you made was, again, 50% for public works in general fund, highway, half and half on water and sewer, makes sense, right?
That's correct.
And then the insurance, but nobody else got touched, relatively speaking.
Yeah, well, we do touch up the top. Those are all the actual invoices went out, water bills, sewer bills, electric
Yeah,
bills.
yeah.
And so it's a small allocation based on that.
Yeah.
Down in IT, it's based on who's got what computers, which is not a big increase, but primarily why Pop Whalen went up is because when we hired the director, they got a computer, so they're in the IT world now with us. Yeah, that's about it. Again, I did not.
Seems benign.
I did not create this. It was created, I found
Right.
notes that it was created, I believe, in 2019.
So Linda, you want to kind of move this around on Wednesday?
No, I just would like to take the time.
Yeah,
to-
look at it.
She's done a lot of work, giving us invoices and stuff like that, and I just would like to review it. You know,
Thank
if
you, Casey.
everybody else wants to do it tonight, I can do it tonight too, and then look at it later, but
I want to read it some more. Thank you.
Wednesday.
seems to make sense to do it. All right, do we have the legal printout? Not yet.
Working on it.
You're working on that, so that's a Wednesday.
I did pull it up on my screen, but that's not really going to help.
But it never
you.
made it to the printer.
No.
Good.
So, yeah, there's not a lot of time between one meeting to the next to get
No,
any work done, so.
That's okay.
We're trying. That will be here on Wednesday. So I guess I'm going to do a summary report for the utilities, electric, water, sewer, for all the departments. I'll show you gas and diesel, but I believe we're not going to take any action on that, just same type of report. We'll finish admin allocation and legal. So those are our four, and it seems like Christine is the only other person to come back. Is that it?
I believe that is correct.
And we're trying to make Wednesday a quick, short meeting?
I don't see why it shouldn't be.
Okay. Make Wednesday a quick, short meeting. There's not a lot that coming back.
What time?
The meeting is
6
scheduled for
o'clock.
6 o'clock.
And no dinner, right?
I can make frozen meatballs if you want. I bought them. I could throw them in a crock pot. Just saying.
I haven't had a frozen. I think we can have a meatball fight.
Paul, since it's close to Halloween, I'll take care of the candy
Are you kidding?
for
We
you,
still have.
for all of you, for
He's on to me.
Wednesday night.
All right. So,
I move that Casey not be required to provide frozen meatballs on Wednesday night.
I just feel I should do my turn, but I also am not feeling well, so maybe you don't want me cooking anything.
Or she could send out a memo.
I'll do Franks and beans and brown bread.
There you go. That's almost as good as frozen meatballs.
that's frozen meatballs.
A lot of bidding and asking
Haven't had
going
one
on
of them in
here.
a long time.
Brian, maple beans?
Maple beans. So maple beans with the dogs cut up in them and the canned brown bread, with or without raisins.
Doesn't matter.
Brad, with or without raisins.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Plenty of butter.
With or
I
without
was just going to
raisins.
say.
It doesn't matter.
Nobody cares. Okay.
So it is your intention to be done with your budget deliberations on Wednesday night? Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Get this thing
So-
off there.
Yes, yeah, I'm tired of carrying it.
Shovel this one off.
So that gets about a week and a half before the budget committee meets. I don't believe we're going to have the health rates. Michelle is going, the HR administrator is going to a insurance meeting on Friday, but I think it's not going to be our particular rates. It's going to be like a more of a global look at the rates. So we're probably going to hand off the budget with the 10% placeholder that we put for the
And
insurance.
what I'm seeing from other communities who have their rates set earlier in the year based on a different provider,
10%.
we will be
Lucky.
in very good position compared to other communities with a 10% increase,
Yeah. No.
If they hold it, right?
So,
if they
tomorrow,
hold it.
when do we vote On the budget, you're going to do that
I
November
think we
6th?
should, we'll have a motion prepared for you for tomorrow night,
So we'll have all
or
the,
Wednesday night.
so we'll have all the figures and stuff, all the summary sheet then.
You'll push the budget forward with one number,
Yep.
30-something million dollars.
Is everybody okay with Jim's candy for dessert?
Yes.
I don't know, Brian.
I was kind of thinking
think
carrot
maybe I'd
cake, I
like
don't know.
some-
All right, you can bring a carrot cake.
Want me to leave that
So we're,
pumpkin roll?
so we're, the pumpkin roll. So we have two,
Yeah, leave the pumpkin roll.
we got two things that are not going to fill out the numbers yet. So one is the health insurance, and the other is going to be whatever disposition we have with wages for the bargaining units.
Well, we also don't have.
That's a warrant article.
Yeah.
Warrant
Non-union.
But right now, we've kind of done our thing on everything but
No.
those two. What's missing?
So there's one other
non-union.
item that I think, I've reached out to New Hampshire DRA. I have not heard back from New Hampshire DRA about what their opinion is on revaluation, whether it should be budget or warrant article. So I'm waiting to
Okay.
hear from them.
And we haven't done non-union. We
Right.
usually wait until we get a number from the union.
Right.
So we will put this forward.
Without
And
it.
we'll have to amend it for that.
Yep. And I believe what we've done in the past is you guys have made a motion to increase non-union wages by whatever percentage, which equals whatever dollar amount, and then that gets brought to the budget committee,
Sure.
and they take it from there.
And he's new. He's not
Okay.
new.
I
Harvey.
need a motion to go into non-public session.
Second.
Brian?
I said that on TV.
Brian, yes. Paul?
Yes.
Linda's yes. Yes. Brad? Dave, just say yes. Yes. Okay.
That's the first thing you said all night.
All right. We're in non-public.
Did we figure out about the pumpkin?